This seems conditional to me. I mean, forgive our debts as we've forgiven our debtors. Seems conditional. So many Protestants, because the Protestant Reformation was we're saved by grace alone through faith alone, they have this, I'd say, untenable position that to add any condition to grace, we're taken away from the cross. It's no longer grace if you add any conditions. I say it's nonsense, and I certainly say it's not biblical. We know in the book of Hebrews, we just covered, it says that God brought the Israelites out of Egypt by his mighty hand. They didn't earn it. There's nothing they did to get salvation. God gave it to them. But then he gave them a covenant. And when they did not uphold that covenant, not one of them made it into the promised land. So the very nature of a covenant is that there are conditions, and I say it does not take one iota away from the grace of God to say that he puts conditions on his covenant. He puts conditions on his grace. But instead of arguing with me, I don't want you to argue with me. We'll go sola scriptura. We'll go with what Jesus says. But I don't know what I'm talking about, but Jesus sure does. Matthew 18. He says, Peter comes up to him and he says, Lord, how often will my brother sin against me and I must forgive him? As many as 7 times? Jesus said to him, I don't have to say to you 7 times, but 7 times 70 times. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who wished to settle accounts with his servants. When he began to settle, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. That's a whole lot of money, more than millions of dollars, more than we could afford to pay back. And since he could not pay, his master ordered him to be sold, with his wife and children, and all that he had, and payment to be made. So the servant fell on his knees, imploring him, have patience with me, and I will pay you everything. And out of pity for him, the master of that servant released him and forgave him the debt. Important question. Did this servant earn his salvation? Did this servant earn his forgiveness? Absolutely not. Is this 100% absolutely grace? The king forgave his debt out of his own goodwill, out of love, out of kindness, out of mercy, total grace. So we have no earning of salvation. We have forgiveness through grace alone. There's no violation to say if you add a condition, you're taking away from grace. Jesus continues, but when the same servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii. That's a whole lot less money. And seized him and began to choke him, saying, pay what you owe. For his fellow servant fell down and pleaded with him, have patience with me, and I will pay you. He refused and went and put him in prison until he should pay the debt. When his fellow servants saw what had taken place, they were greatly distressed, and they went and reported to their master all that had taken place. Then his master summoned him and said to him, you wicked servant, I forgave you all the debt because you pleaded with me. And should not you have had mercy on your fellow servant as I had mercy on you? And in anger his master delivered him to the jailers until he should pay all his debt. So also my heavenly Father will do to every one of you if you do not forgive your brother from your heart. So, I don't know. You can call me whatever you want. We'll go back to verse 14. For if you forgive other their trespasses, it's a if, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. So you contort as much as you want to try to explain this verse, to stay within a certain paradigm. You can call me all sorts of names and say I'm not like a real whatever. But I don't know, it seems unequivocal to me, and my prayer is just, Lord, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.